Okay, today we're looking at the causes of World War I. This is going to be part B. The last time you should have looked at the causes of World War I, part A. Please don't forget to look at my website for the notes and also to check your Edmodo accounts. And you can link to YouTube to find this video. As I said, today we're looking at the causes of World War I, and this is going to be part B. Let's review what we looked at last time in part A. In part A, we talked about the four causes of World War I. So, real quickly, right off the top of your head, what were the four causes of World War I? They were nationalism. Give you a little hint there for the next one. Imperialism, militarism, and finally, the alliance system. So let's build off of that and let's go with the alliance system. Let's look at the two major alliances and the people that made up those alliances for the Great War, or World War I. The first one we're going to talk about is the Triple Alliance. As you learned from Causes of World War I, Part A, the Triple Alliance was made up of Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy. First person we're going to talk about from your key terms was Otto von Bismarck. Otto von Bismarck was the chancellor of what was once Prussia. And Prussia no longer exists in what we have today, but its impact is lasted with what we have as Germany. And he was the one that really worked to unify Germany as a culture and as a people. Now, Otto von Bismarck saw France as Germany's greatest threat. And he saw France as Germany's greatest threat because of a area that they had taken called Alsace-Lorraine. Okay, let me write that for you. Alsace-Lorraine. It is a French territory, but Germany saw it as a territory in which there were Germanic peoples and therefore should be part of the culture and heritage of Germany. So he thought France was a major threat because they were still holding resentment about losing that territory. So what does he want to do? He wants to isolate France from allies. And in doing so, he's going to formulate his own alliances and formulate the Triple Alliance. He formulates a Triple Alliance with Austria, Hungary, and Italy. And he does this to discourage France from getting alliances of its own. And what ends up happening is kind of the opposite. France looks at that as a worry. Okay? And before Otto von Bismarck can formulate and keep Russia away from being an ally with France, he is going to be overthrown. Bismarck's going to be overthrown, essentially, by Kaiser Wilhelm II. Okay? Kaiser is a younger, very ego, bravado type guy that wants power. And he's going to force Bismarck to resign. Kind of this, let's get rid of the old guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. We're a great nation, we can trump people and we can beat them very easily. And so Wilhelm II is very, very power hungry. But unfortunately, he takes it a little too far. What he does is he drops the previous alliance with Russia. Okay? The one that Bismarck was trying to formulate, he drops that. And that leads to Russia becoming allies with France. And so essentially what you have now is the idea, something that Bismarck didn't want, of a two-front war. Okay? A two-front war. So if Germany was right here, they would have Russia to the east and France to the west. And so if they ever got into a war, Germany would have to fight now because France and Russia are aligned. Germany would have to fight on a western front and an eastern front. And they would be sandwiched between. That's not very smart on anybody's part, but especially Wilhelm here, okay? So that's where they would be. Now, Wilhelm, to discourage Britain from becoming an ally, and Great Britain's an island out over here, okay? To discourage them from getting into it, he's going to build up his naval forces. He wants to compete with Great Britain because they are the greatest naval power in Europe, okay? If not the world. Why? They're an island nation. So they need to have strong naval defenses and naval capabilities to keep their country thriving. Now, so Wilhelm does that to compete with Great Britain. He wants to be a great naval force, and really does a great job of it. What's this going to lead to? Well, here's pictures of Bismarck and Kaiser Wilhelm II. Here you can kind of see the age difference, but also take a look at their uniforms. Otto von Bismarck, very simple, very plain, and look at Kaiser Wilhelm. He's showing off there. All right, it kind of gives you an idea into their attitudes. Now, with Wilhelm doing all this stuff, it's going to essentially lead to what we call the Triple Entente. Remember, the Triple Entente is a French term that means to agree or to understand, okay? Great Britain is going to form an alliance with France. They're going to call this the Entente, okay? It's an agreement, and it's just two. Well, with France being aligned with Russia, that's going to help bring them in. So Great Britain does this with Germany, or with France, because they see Germany's buildup of naval forces. So Great Britain and France are going to form an alliance as Entente in fear of what really Germany is doing. They're becoming very militaristic. So with Great Britain and France, since France is already tied to Russia, now they're all three going to associate, and this is going to be called the Triple Entente. Okay, agreement of three. Now, one dispute could draw both alliances and all 6 nations into war. It's just going to take one, what we call a trigger point. Okay? And what is it going to be that takes it to that point? So you have the 4 causes: nationalism, imperialism, militarism, and the alliance system. And you build that up, and now you have some of the most powerful nations in the world that are aligned with one another, and they're very prideful, they're very competitive, they've become rivals, and they're ready to see just how good they are. So let's review. Take a moment, copy this chart down into 2 sections, the Triple Alliance and the Triple Entente. Down at the bottom here, you can see the 6 choices I want you to have. And I want you to give me a chart of what 3 nations are in the Triple Alliance and what 3 nations are in the Triple Entente. And let's check your answers. There you go. The Triple Alliance is Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. The Triple Entente is France, Great Britain, and Russia. That's going to conclude today's notes. This is Causes of World War I, Part B. Make sure you watch both A and B. Make sure you follow along with your Edmodo account. Make sure that you've taken notes and you have questions so that you can have those answered in class.